Good morning, everyone, and welcome. What your host, Marco Arevalo, and today we will discuss the changes brought about by the new normal to the systems of within various organizations. We will also find out how we can combat these changes in order to keep our nation, most especially ourselves, proactive in the trying time of the COVID-19 pandemic. To formally start our program, I'd like to call on one of the event heads, Denzel Palaganas.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I hope everyone here is safe and well amidst the worldwide pandemic. First of all, I would want to thank each and every one of you who took the time to attend this webinar. To our speakers, we are honored to have you in this activity as well as we will be surely learning from you. Thank you, Brads. To our illustrious fellow and fellowship council, thank you for gracing us with your presence. Let us all look forward to learning more about how we can improve ourselves and our leadership in our organizations. Again, thank you and good morning.
Thank you very much, Denzel, for those very welcoming words. Before we proceed with the first talk, please be reminded that all questions will be after the second talk. Should you have any questions, just chat feature regulators, Eljon, Pau, Raymar, Gian, and Justice. We introduce our first speaker. He was a director of the Financial and Management Service from 2003 to 2015, a DTI MSG Assistant Secretary from 2015 to 2018. Is the current DTI Undersecretary, Management Services Group, and Chief of Staff. It is all given welcome to Ireneo Boy Vizmonte.
Morning, everyone. Good morning. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. To begin with, let me greet you warm and greetings. Good morning to everyone. I hope you're enjoying, even we are in this difficult times, meaning enjoying. You continue to live with a balance of the leisure and what is important. I think this is a way for everyone to survive this kind of environment. You have to enjoy. You have to not worry, as worrying may not help you address the current concerns. So I was tasked to discuss this morning something which is I have difficulty understanding or have a grasp. But instead, I'm going to present something which is something which is close to me, and I can describe well during this time, related in relation to my work as an employee of the Department of Trade and Industry. So my discussion will be along this line in relation to the given topic of leadership during crisis. I hope everyone has a common understanding of a crisis, but right now we have this pandemic, and this is really a crisis of uh, huge magnitude, more than huge magnitude, really big, because this is worldwide. But of course, crisis can also be something within you, personal. It could be between in a household. It could be in an organization. Um, it could be in a business. So, but there is common in all this. A crisis is a disruption of what we normally is experiencing. So it's a difficult time. But to some, and this is also an opportunity. So let me share my slide. Our my my colleague in DTI, Ton Melendres, who is with us, will share my slide. This is about leaders adapting to the new normal. As I said, I will discuss with you what I'm doing in the Department of Trade and Industry, and perhaps sharing this will give you an idea of how we can effectively address difficulties during crises like this, like we are experiencing right now. Next slide. In DTI, of course, and first and foremost, when you are in crisis, you cannot prepare at that point. We have to anticipate. That's a very important. In any organization, we should all consider that crisis will happen. In fact, some people uh, look at this as a everyday news, meaning perhaps if you're reading the newspaper, most likely you'll find an article which describes a crisis. So, for example, there is a standoff, there is a between military and the communist party, or a a something like a personal suicide, or a bank robbery, or a those are forms of crisis. And to address all this, everybody has to anticipate. And through this organization, you have to build that organization to be ready for that crisis. So in DTI, uh, first, we really have to strengthen our institution. Uh, there should be a collective effort to make the organization right, to like a machine, like an engine of a automobile. You have all the systems must be uh, must be addressed, and to run the machine or the automobile efficiently. So we have to strengthen the institution. Depending on the mandate of that organization, we have to strengthen that institution. We have to we have to make sure that for every time that there is a replacement, the institution will be able to handle the change. The replacement should be able to take over the new position. So it's not about personalities, but it's about strengthening the institution. Of course, next is for to do this strengthening of institution, we have to employ a very strict merit and promotion and selection system. So therefore, we choose workforce or members of our organization to be competent. So we are following a competent-based hiring and recruitment to ensure that every employee will have that short period of time of learning their job. So this is important, choosing the right talent, choosing the right workforce for them to survive and to adapt to the environment of the organization. Of course, we have to, next slide, next item is uh, we employee engagement is very important to us, and in fact, we measured it once every 2 years. Employee engagement is not about it's not just about performance. It's about making sure that we have a high percentage of people that are enjoying their work, not because they are receiving their salary, but because they are engaged. They have that passion to do their job. So, and this is important. In other words, we're not just expecting employees are not just expecting to receive their salaries at the end of the month or on the 15th, but they look forward to going to office as they find value in what they're doing in their respective workstations. And employee engagement is something that will also give our organization the high level of performance. Very important, because when your all employees are engaged, then therefore the organization will most likely deliver the expectation of the public to them. So that's the value of a very high collective employee engagement. DTI, we also have a very low turnover rate, meaning occupying 90+% of all positions. Ibig sabihin po niyan, in DTI, most employees are retained or stay for quite a long period of time. So therefore, it's also an indicator of the level of engagement of the employees. Of course, next is our training. In DTI, we make sure that aside from the fact of that they are highly qualified, we want to make sure that they will continue to be specialists, experts in their respective field. And we do this through our DTI Academy, where we provide continuing learning among our employees. Of course, side by side with our capacity building is really measuring the performance of the employees. So, and to measure the performance of the employee and the organization, we need to have a very good planning. We have to have a target setting and a very efficient performance monitoring. So, on DTI, we are experts. We are very much familiar with the performance governance system, which is actually a system which is lifted from balanced scorecard. This means that we are aware of the dashboards, individual dashboards, or the organizational enterprise scorecard, so that we're able to measure our performance based on our set targets. And of course, in doing all this, we value our institutional memory and knowledge management. That's why we have a system in DTI, unit in DTI, ensuring that knowledge, information are kept, so that when employees leave the organization, we keep those information in the department, and therefore of use in the future to address concerns. And then we also have a strong foundation on ICT. So as you know, especially this time, this is an opportunity for, during this COVID, an opportunity for everyone to really harness and improve their IT system. in DTI, we're able to, even prior to COVID, we're able to establish online system, meaning citizen or the public does not need to go to our physical office to apply for their business name registration or, for example, licenses. They just have to stay in their respective homes to apply for business name or get their licenses. So we have done a lot of improvements in this area of ICT development. And part, of course, and very important to maintain our integrity and to make sure that funds are utilized for its purpose. We have a very credible financial system. And this is, when we make credible, it follows the rules of appropriation, accounting, auditing rules set by the Commission on Audit and by the General Appropriations Act. So this is important so that all funds will definitely be used for its purpose, efficiently used, following all the rules in government, including um, procurement, disbursement, and alignment with the mandates of the organization. And finally, of course, as part to ensure that the employees will be happy, we also ensure that salaries are received on time. So these are features of the DTI that I was able to put in place. As you see, they may not be exactly related to crisis management, but surely and certainly, when you have this kind of institution, strong institution, definitely you'll be ready to face a crisis. So this is a first important element of a leader in crisis. They should be able to anticipate crisis. That's the reason why government has a national disaster risk reduction office or structure. Uh, Simply because, and we want the government to be ready when faced with a difficult situation, like not only during this pandemic, but also, for example, during typhoon or floods or national disaster, or even fire, for that matter, man-made disasters. Okay, and so that's the kind of organization we have, and as I can assure you that the DTI, with this kind of system in place, developing our human resource, our system, and uh, and our relationship with the community, we have that kind of credibility, and because we have that kind of credibility, we have that. We can easily move projects uh, across the bureaucracy, helping whole of government approach. So when you have that kind of preparation, just like in any situation, just like you, for example, students, when you have that kind of foundation, you have that kind of preparation, you remain calm. It's like, for example, taking an exam. If you are ready, if you have the fundamentals with you, you are confident of uh, meeting any difficulty along the way. And in your case, students, you have also your own crises. When you are prepared, when you have studied well, then therefore most likely you can surmount difficulties in life and in every situation. But especially in time of crisis, because as they said, during crisis somehow defines the personality of an individual. So this is why the importance of a strong institution uh, is very relevant during crisis. Uh, and in particular during this time of crisis, DTI, when faced with this challenge of pandemic, as you know, the DTI has to be part of the game immediately right after the declaration of the enhanced community quarantine. The DTI was there immediately to ensure that while government is addressing the health issues, health concerns, we continue to help the economy, the businesses, to continue. And we have to tap what I have earlier discussed, the system in place, the network we have, the human resources we have to be able to perform, to enable the department to respond to the requirements or to the demands of the work during the enhanced community quarantine. So we can cite several examples of what we have done. Of course, DTI enforced the price freeze of basic necessities and prime commodities uh, to ensure that wala pong pagtaas ng mga presyo sa ating mga commodities. And nagawa po natin ito through the local price coordinating councils across the country through our local government units. And this is important because this is part of ensuring that we have an adequate supply because when we enforce price freeze, uh, we avoid the or prevent people from profiteering or from hoarding and ensuring steady supply of commodities. And side by side with this enforcement of price freeze, we also have to ensure that the production of food, basic essentials, will continue. We have to we we actually convince the government that essential manufacturing and services should continue to be open to ensure that food will be available to our members of society. And of course, next is addressing urgent trade and industry concerns. During this period of COVID, one challenge that our members of the community faced was how to move from one place to another because during the quarantine, in general, we're supposed to stay home. But we know also that there should be some people we call the authorized people outside the residence to move around, meaning to go to their work, to do their errands, and the Department of Trade Industry to ensure that people in the logistics, people in the manufacturing, people in the retail industry will continue uh, to, will continue to be to move around and go to their respective workplaces. We issued 600 to 700,000 of IATF IDs in a matter of 2 weeks. So that's how fast we were able to deploy these IDs to ensure that employees of the retail establishments, manufacturing, and logistics services are provided, and therefore they can move without difficulty in their checkpoints. So together with this, we also have to establish or deploy a team we call the rapid response team to to answer phone calls from the citizen whenever they have a problem moving towards moving or passing through checkpoints or difficulty uh, moving cargoes which supposedly should be unhampered. So we're able to help the businesses to to be able to perform their task and to continue their respective activities to produce food, to produce basic essentials, particularly those we need in the by the health sectors. So those are very important during those first months of the uh, enhanced community quarantine. So we're able to do this not because we have the organization, but because we have a very strong organization to respond to difficulties. So uh, moving them, mobilizing these people uh, becomes easy because we have the preparation, we have the foundation of a strong institution. Next, of course, is we have to release policies uh, in anticipation of the needs of this external stakeholders. So this is important to communicate to all enforcement units, so our local government units, to all stakeholders, what's supposed to be done in every circumstances to ensure that everything uh, will be uh, will be organized, will move accordingly. Uh, the policies, of course, include allowing allowing establishments to operate and make sure that the minimum health protocols are followed. We have to communicate this well to all the stakeholders, to various implementing agencies, so that we really can promote the and educate all the people about the minimum health protocols, and that includes, of course, the wearing of masks, the observing physical distancing, reminding them with or placing marks in establishments where they should stay or where they should stand, and making sure that all establishments follow best practices to ensure or prevent the spread of this COVID-19. And finally, because of our access to real-time data, we're able to come up with a very good policies and direction ahead of schedule. Very important because of our IT system, because of our reporting system, we're able to respond and make adjustments along the way. For example, in monitoring compliance in our policies, like policies in the opening businesses in dine-in restaurants and barbershops and salons. We have to do daily monitoring of their compliance and make sure that the monitoring reports are submitted at the end of the day so that the executives and management are aware of what's happening on the same day and report it to the proper authorities for them to ensure that the penalties, for example, of temporary closure among these establishments can be implemented. So these are important so that we ensure that uh, companies, establishments will follow what the circulars are uh, are provided for and being asked out of these establishments. So this is a very good example for us to, of course, to learn from the DTI side. We out of this pandemic, we are we were compelled to introduce several systems using information technology. We know that, of course, us, everyone, for example, what we're using right now before pandemic, I don't think any one of you has, or maybe some of you has experienced using virtual conferencing, teleconferencing, or using, in this particular case, Zoom. But this kind of a system or equipment was able, application was able to help all organization to have faster communication. So that means we don't need to have physical meeting, and we can do a virtual teleconferencing and with the same effect, meaning more efficient. We can attend more meetings. We can respond to problem in a timely manner. And other than this, of course, I'm sure everyone is using several platforms in communicating, like Viber or Messenger or mobile. And this has become the means of effective means of communicating to the public, or conversing or exchanging information among leaders, among members of the organization, to ensure that they can continue to deliver the services that they have to during this period. So we learned a lot from this pandemic, and I suppose uh, student organizations like you uh, has also benefited out of this pandemic in building resiliency in your respective areas. So, uh, as I mentioned earlier, in building resiliency, there is value in anticipating and getting ready. There is value in coming up with plans and identifying the outcome that you need to achieve or you need to produce at the end. So during crisis, there should be a clear uh, output and outcome. There should be a clear scorecard or dashboard that you want to attain. As you see, and as you have, are you are monitoring, for example, the government. We're monitoring well. We have a lot of data with us to ensure that we can compare our performance in terms of health measure. For example, in terms of the number of cases, number of deaths, number of recoveries, and these are inputted in our system to to determine which areas should have a higher risk, and therefore there should be a more enhanced community quarantine, or maybe some areas are less risky. So therefore, they should be having a general quarantine. So in this pandemic, government was able to organize several teams to address respective concerns. Like, for example, aside from the interagency task force, which is actually a policy-making body, there are other bodies like the National Task Force, which actually is the implementation of the policies. And it has under it are several task groups to address issues of response, resource mobilization and logistics, food security, peace and order, uh, the economy, several. So there are many task groups that are working with us. And in all this item number one is very important, communication. Because even with several units in an organization, there should be one communication being used or being disseminated across all units. This is very important. Otherwise, this can be a source of miscommunication or failure in implementing projects. So we have to maintain relationship. We have to have a very good communication plan. We should use a very good communicator. We should use the technology that we have nowadays for us to get attention, for us to get that reach, for us to get that interest. For example, the millennials like you know, for example, how to bring about or deploy communication that will become viral later on. So this is important. When we want something communicated, we know we want this to have maximum reach uh, and aside from maximum reach is a good understanding of uh, from the stakeholders, from among the stakeholders. So we should be in this way. We should have our respective creative choices uh, to, uh, to be able to come up with a very good communication plan. They should our tools or our materials should be able to capture the imagination of our members of society, so that that particular communication will continue to remind them of what should they do, especially during this time of crisis, like for example wearing of mask or physical distancing. So these are important communication that we have to relay to our public and should be embedded in their and they should be continuously reminded whenever they are going out or going to office or whenever they have to do something outside their respective houses, and even during in their house in their respective houses, if they live with other people, they should continue to wear masks to ensure that we are uh, we are we are preventing the spread of COVID. Of course, for us, uh, people in the communication, we have to remind everyone that it's not only about face masks, it's not only about face shields, it's not about physical distancing, but also maintaining our physical health or maintaining a balance between work and life or between studying and life. So dapat we continue to enjoy, we continue to have this social gathering even through Zoom. We can, pwede pa rin kayong mag-inuman. Kaya lang yung mga bote nyo ay nasa inyo, kanya-kanya lang table. You don't have that benefit of lively discussion perhaps. But still, we should continue to live with this virus and continue to enjoy life. Of course, next is you stand on the shoulders of giants. Take time to learn from the successes and failures of previous generation and provide your members with access to good reading materials or webinars. So this is very important because we learn from the past. We learn even from the mistakes of others. We learn even from the mistakes of the past. We learn. But I hope good examples will become your inspiration and build on that inspiration to build your respective organization towards resiliency. And then next is take advantage of being part of a tech-savvy generation. As I mentioned earlier, this is very important. And I think I don't have to emphasize, as you know, you are all digital natives, unlike us who are considered digital migrants. We are we are not we are not originally from that territory, so it's difficult to move from where we are to this kind of generation. But you being probably born when there is already this kind of technology, you are considered digital natives already, so you can navigate in this tech-savvy generation with ease and confidence. Okay, so and of course we adapt to the times and innovate in terms of resource generation and finance management and recruitment and mentorship. So this is a period where we need each other. This is a period for each one of us to learn from each other. It's a period where we see people who could be our inspiration to for this during times. I suppose from your end, as we see, as we hear news, as we open our Facebook, as we open our respective Instagrams, you see people who are can be the inspiration during pandemic, or who can be the opposite. So use them, and I think when you see that inspiration, you read about them, uh, and definitely you will learn out of their experience and out of the information or items or articles that they shared to us. With that, I think I have covered a lot, and I'm being reminded that my time is already done. So, good morning, everyone, and I hope I was able to provide information, but uh, not necessarily aligned to what you want me to discuss, but maybe it's very important that important element of leaders during crisis is not actually what they are during crisis, but what they have done prior to crisis. Of course, during crisis, the important thing is being decisive because we don't have that luxury of time during uh, difficult times like crisis or this kind of pandemic. Good morning again, and maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you for that wonderful talk, Usec Vizmonte. To our attendees, make sure to send your questions to our moderators. And now for the second talk, our speaker is the officer in charge of Call to Rescue Philippines, a non-profit worldwide organization devoted to rescuing minors from sexual trafficking, violence, and abuse. He was one of the hosts for CNN Philippines talk show The Boardroom and is currently the chairman and chief disturber of his own company, Anthony Pangilinan Group, BusinessWorks Incorporated, established in 1990. Please welcome Mr. Anthony Martin Pangilinan, MBA.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Can you hear me? Are we okay? We're fine. Can somebody give me a sign that I can be heard? Yes?
Yep. Yes.
Maraming salamat. And thank you, Usec, Vizmonte. Maraming salamat. And to you and your leaders, especially Secretary Mon Lopez, you guys are leaders in a time of crisis. In fact, you are so aligned. You already sound the same, Senior Brad. That's my topic that was given to me, leadership in a time of crisis, leadership attitudes and mindsets in a time of crisis, in a time of change. What I'd like to do is actually share with you a masterclass that I just released a few weeks ago. This is exclusive to you guys because I don't do this in public. It's a course that is actually on a global platform and it's available for those who are willing to invest in it, but because you are the future leaders, then we should invest in you. So this is a preview of leadership in a time of change and or crisis. It's a masterclass, and I'd like to give you a 30-minute overview of the course. Hopefully the best of the best of what's already there. Normally one-day program to, pero dahil ang bibilis yung pumikap, gawin natin in 30 minutes. Mindsets and attitudes of a leader, in a time of change, in a time of crisis. So my daughter Solana goes around the house with this schedule. Every 30 minutes, minsan 1 hour. Naghahanap siya ng mga kapatid niya o magulang niya na pwedeng makasama niya dun sa panahon na yon. And within a day, she is able to engage with everyone. Hindi kagaya namin, ako minsan, dahil 5 yung anak ko, 3 lang nakausap ko, 4 lang, ganon. Minsan 1 lang because focused ako sa mga sessions ko. Solana, not because she's the cutest, but because, and she's 8 years old, or turned 9 already, but because she's the most efficient and influential, is able to have us commit, right? To meet with her one-on-one every day during this pandemic. Hindi lang dahil cute siya, pero dahil efficient siya, dahil leader siya. And that is, I'd like to go to the definition of John Maxwell, what leadership essentially is. Leadership is influence, sabi ni John Maxwell. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's influence. And I just wanted to clarify this as we start, that everyone here is a leader. Please, let us not even debate that, because every one of you is an influencer, right? If you're still doubting if you're a leader or influencer, buhusan nyo ng kape yung katabi ninyo, and I promise you, you will influence that person. Now, maybe not towards the right direction, right? But you still will. And if you're wondering when, I often ask my participants, kailan ka ba naging influencer? Some will say nung naging leader siya sa eskwelahan, or nung nagsimula siya ng negosyo, or when she attended a program. Solana was an influencer the day Maricel and I found out she was in the tummy. Tama ba? Right? You guys changed the lives of your parents when they found out that you were inside the tummy, that your mother was pregnant. Especially if you were not planned. Right? Because our lives changed, our budget changed, the design of the house I was building then changed, we stopped, or she stopped competing in triathlons at that point because of Solana influencing her in the tummy yet unborn. So don't ever ask yourself, leader ba ako? Hindi. You are an influencer, but there are 2 issues I hope that you struggle with until you die, as I will. Number 1, are you growing? Because a lot of leaders are not. In fact, yung iba nagre-regress dahil hindi naalagaan. You don't use it, you lose it. No, we're not yet in this slide. We're still in the overview. This is principle 1. Actually, you can take out the slide first, so maybe I can just engage fully with the participants. No, wala muna slide. So, yeah, yan muna. Are you growing? Number 2, where are you going? Right? Because marami pong nasa direksyon na hindi ka nais-nais eh. Alam naman natin yun. Not just at home, but at the workplace, at the national global level. We struggle with the way some people are leading us, right? But this is not about them, it's about you. So I'd like to share 6 quick principles on the attitudes and mindsets that leaders embrace, especially in a time of change and crisis. Number 1, change the script. Ito na, nasa PowerPoint na tayo. It no longer works. Change the script, it no longer works. That's the first mindset. You cannot use the old scripts. What scripts have worked? Come on, the last 5-6 months, right? Ito, wala naman sa script natin to eh. Right? Usec, Vizmonte, wala naman to eh. Right? I probably had 2 or 3, maybe the most 4 sessions, training sessions online in the last, 2-3 years? I've had 40 in the last 3 months. The script has changed. It no longer works. Don't hold on to those scripts that no longer work. Come on, there's even an institution that makes scripts, right? That no longer exists. Yung gumagawa ng production, di ba? An entire network has closed down, now churning out not a single script. Well, meron naman online. Pero nagbago, di ba? Work from home, school from home, webinar from home, live from home. I was asked by this business organization a few weeks ago, how do I see the situation? How do we see the situation? Sabi ko, it sucks, di ba? Yes, simultaneous fires, hindi lang isa. We're still in the middle of a fire right now. In fact, firestorm. What's the difference between a firestorm? Firestorm has its own life. Several fires yan, sabay-sabay. Pero may sariling buhay yan. Yes, simultaneous fires in all directions. You, the unknown is what's killing many. We don't know how long, right? We didn't anticipate it's going to take this much time. And who has the truth? Who is telling the truth? Diba? Nobody knows. It's tough to discern the times. See, chaos at all levels. Systemic breakdown. Not because people don't have the good intentions to do it, pero yung sinabi ni Usec Vizmonte, hindi nakapag-prepare eh. Diba? Unlike DTI. Lakas naman. K, knowledge gap. Right? We don't know the givens. We don't know the givens. Sabi nila, the first responsibility of leadership is to define reality. Max Dupree. Eh, ano bang reality? Hindi nga lang knowledge gap, eh, knowledge vacuum, knowledge black hole. So we move one day at a time. You gotta hold on to what you know, what you don't know. So may professor pumasok sa Manila Zoo, di ba? Kasama ng kanyang estudyante. Ang dali pumasok eh, nag-iikot sila. Then after a while, sabi ng estudyante, "Teacher, we are completely lost." Hindi sila makalabas eh. Sabi ng teacher, "Relax ka lang. We're not completely lost. At least we know we're still in Manila." You hold on to what you know, okay? Not what you don't know. S-U-C-K, it sucks. S, of course, suffering. Widespread. Kaya hindi ka pwedeng magnegosyo ngayon na wala kang advokasya. It's immoral, right? It is completely off. Change the script, it no longer works. I'm part of Call to Rescue as introduced. I don't know the percentages, but definitely the cases of online sex exploitation of children has grown. In this country, we're one of the hotbeds, right? Isa tayo sa mga major users and providers lalo na of kids online for sex. You know, in 2017, 18, 2017, there were only 40, madami na yun, 40,000 cases of Usec reported. Last year, 600,000 cases. Online sex exploitation of children. And more so now, given access to technology and everything happening online. It's tough. Call to Rescue PH, if any of you are suffering, are being challenged, or baka kayo yung gusto nang magbago, Call to Rescue on Facebook, Call to Rescue PH. Send us a DM, right? Send us a message. We're helping people now who are victims of this crime, this horrific situation. And it sucks. Problema kasi sa Pilipinas, perfect storm. Poverty, archipelago, inadequate laws, di ba? Connectivity, grabe, no? We're all connected. Ang gaganda pa ng mga Pilipino, ng mga Pilipina. So talagang perfect for trafficking online. But if we can save one child a day, we do what we can, right? With what we have. I've had a chance to train in over 50 countries by now. I've been trained. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Africa, Latin America, Europe, North America, Asia, of course. You know, I woke up one day and I realized this. I wrote this down in my notebook. I still notebooks. The top complainers are always the least producers. In fact, I personalized that. The more I complain about any situation, the less I produce. Because then I become a part of the problem, right? A part of the problem. Pag naging complaining spirit na ang nagahari sa mindset ko, I want to be part of the solution. Even as we go about changing our scripts, though, let's be reminded by what Jim Collins said, practiced by DTI. 100-year-old companies, 33 of them in his book, Built to Last. Jim Collins is a mentor. Jim Collins is someone I've engaged with personally. I went through his retreats. I read his books. Built to Last, How the Mighty Fall, Great by Choice, Good to Great. And he said this, the secret of century-old companies, and I dare say institutions and families and companies here, even the micro level, if they want to last. Sabi niya, he found out a two-fold philosophy, a two-part philosophy. He saw this in every of those institutions. What's that? Preserve the core when you stimulate progress. Preserve the core, C-O-R-E, when you stimulate progress. Marami kasing kumpanya o grupo, panay core, di ba? Wala nang progress. Preserve. They look like preserves already. Ang iba naman panay progress, wala namang core. Walang non-negotiable. So as you change your script, just quick advice from Peter Drucker, the father of management. Step 1, change management. Decide what you will absolutely not change. Number 2, be open to changing absolutely everything else. After identifying your non-negotiables, negotiate everything else. Number 2, if I'm going to have a mindset, if I'm going to have an attitude of a leader at this time of change and crisis, I have to remember that habit is either the worst, number 2, next slide, the best of servants or the worst of masters. Okay, so kailangan mabilis yung ating PowerPoint. So number 2 na tayo. Sige, kaya mo yan, Brad. Let's do it. Let's do it. Number 2. Are you still there? Habit is either, there you go, the best of servants or the worst of masters. Mahirap ang habit, ha? Take the word habit. Tinan nyo. H-A-B-I-T. You take off the H, you still have a bit of it. You take off the A, you still have bit of it. You take off the B, you still have it. Mahirap. Pag nasanayan na. That's why in the book Atomic Habits by, it's right here because I'm going through this, James Clear. What did he say? We don't rise to the level of our visions. We fall down to the level of our habits, to the level of our systems, right? To our ways of life. Kahit mangarap ka, di ba, ng napakataas, pero kung habit mo hanggat dito lang, ang pamamaraan mo hanggat dito lang, sistema mo hanggat dito ka lang. And this is a time to change our habits. Hindi na pwede rin yung dati. Pero ano yung mga kaugalian na dapat nang baguhin na? One thing I'm proud about my wife, Maricel, is that she has been the inspiration when it comes to working out. right? Because you got to stay fit, right? You got to be immune as best as you can to what is going on around us. So siguro sa 5 months of this pandemic so far na nag-lockdown tayo on and off, she must have missed maybe 5 times. So her being fit has been inspiring the entire family. My issue is my being impatient sometimes, you know, too precise, has been not inspiring but annoying. And I'm trying to deal with that. Right? What habit are you proud about? What habit should change? You will fall to the level of your habits. Let me give you not a tip, but let me give you an acronym, a process. REIGN. Problema kasi sa habit. Default natin yan eh. Right? Pag na-trigger ka na kung ano man, you immediately react without thinking. And we're very unconscious of this. We're unaware. Pag na-trigger ka na, unang-unang tanong, what's your trigger? Saan ka nati-trigger? T. Minsan nati-trigger sa katotohanan, truth. Oh my God, you've been avoiding the truth for the longest time. Then it hits you, boom. Diba? How do you react? R. Your responsibilities. You get triggered by that. Nadagdagan. Itong work from home, mas marami pa trabaho, diba? Mas lalo naging opisina eh. Because we're not only doing our business, we're reinventing our business at the same time. So roles, trigger, reactions. I, ifs, those if this happens, if that happens. Worries, they also trigger kahit di mangyari. G, goals. Minsan ikaw mismo ang may kasalanan. Ang taas-taas pa ng layunin mo. Ano sabi ni Jack Ma at this time? The richest Chinese businessman. If you survive 2020, that's already a good bottom line. Magpasalamat ka na. So the goals also have to be managed. The gaps, right? Pag may nakita kang gap, di naman yan pinag-usapan eh, di ba? Ito yung in-order mo sa Lazada, ito yung dumating. Oh my God, di ba? E, the environment, of course, as we see today. Trigger, R, ito matindi to. Relationships. Or yung kakulangan ng relationship. S, social media. Huwag na nating i-debate yon. Triggers. So, let me give you a quick response framework. To respond is to positively react, to appropriately react. I didn't even know that before. You can never negatively respond. You want to win? Respond, don't react. Don't habitually react, you respond. Okay? You respond, you think first before you react. Stimulus, process it, think, discern, pray if you must, seek counsel, and then you respond. You positively respond. I said I'd like to give you a process. Triggers is just a guide on what, irks you. REIGN, R-E-I-G-N. R, recognize your triggers. Aminin mo na. E, elevate it to a higher authority. Run to your mommy or to your God, however you conceive your God to be. That we might not go down to the level, right, of those who are pulling us down. Elevate it to a higher authority every time you sense there's a trigger. To your value system. I, initiate a response. Initiate a response. Yung mga hindi makapag-initiate ng response, yun ang nagre-react na parang animal. So, umaming ka na. Bakit mo sinuntok kung ang sagot sa'yo o ang sagot mo, nauna siya eh. Brutal truth, hayop ka. Right? Because you're saying, I'm just mirroring what he did without thinking. R-E, elevate to higher authority. I, initiate a response. Kung babawi ka, dapat manalo ka. Di ba, planuhin mo man lang. G, get into the habit. Get into the habit. And finally, N, nurture yourself. Kasi kapag punong-puno ka, pag marami kang deposito, kahit na nung oras mag-withdraw sila sa krisis, okay ka pa rin. R-E-I-G-N, you reign. Number 3, as a man thinketh, so is he. As a man thinketh, bam, bilis to na. Galing, ha? Congratulations. As a man thinketh, so is he. Well, Epictetus said this too. right? I'm just taking this from the Bible. He said the same thing. Philosopher Epictetus. Ano ba nasa isip mo? Kasi ganito yan, ha? I'm giving you ideas. Guys, I wonder if you knew this process. I'm giving you ideas. If you allow these ideas to enter your mind, because your mind is a gatekeeper. Brad, alam niyo mga gatekeeper, di ba? Hindi pinapapasok. O papapasukin. Right? May mga lumalabas dito na, can I enter? Can I enter? You're screening it, right? Ideas have to be screened. Many of us don't even screen. We do not distinguish an idea from a thought. Iba po ang idea sa thought. Ang idea nakapasok na sa kaisipan, naging thought. Your mind allowed the idea to enter, it became your thought. Then your thought becomes a feeling as you are consumed by that thought. That feeling leads to action. The action, of course, determines the result. Idea, thought, feeling, action, results. That's the process. Ang problema natin, hindi natin ina-assess muna yung idea. Kasi may mga idea na hindi dapat pumasok eh. No ID, no entry. But if it's a positive, helpful one, let it come in. Let it change. Let it replace those thoughts inside of you that have controlled you. Hopefully, there have been great thoughts. I picked up a few from, and a good few from Usec Vizmonte on building strong institutions. Do not reject the ideas that will help you. But please, palabasin nyo na yung mga kaisipan na hindi nakakatulong. You can reprogram your mind. What's your mindset when it comes to trouble? For example, do you know that getting into trouble is not your choice? Maybe out of the 10 troubles in the last year, yung 3 kasalanan mo. Pero yung 7, lumapit sa'yo. Kaya mali yung huwag kang papasok sa gulo. And it's also not good that you keep on blaming yourself for the troubles you're experiencing. Kasi kahit na ayaw natin pasukin ng problema, minsan ang problema lumalapit sa atin, di ba? Who wanted this pandemic? Getting into trouble is not your choice, guys, but going through trouble well is your choice. That you don't give up. Rudyard Kipling, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they're gone, and so hold on when there's nothing in you except the will which says to you, hold on. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. I've known that for what? Almost 40 years. That has been a mindset that I am so thankful for. It wasn't my own. I embraced it. What is your mindset? When an Angolan giraffe gives birth, I wonder if you knew this. Hindi siya umupo, hindi siya humihiga. Angolan giraffe, yung bata lalabas yan from 10 feet. Ang entrance niya sa mundo, wapak! Ganon ang entrance niya. Ganon ba naging entrance niya sa mundo? Tapos susubok yan tumayo. Tatadya ka ng nanay niyan. Can you imagine? Ganon na nga entrance mo, wapak! Tapos tatadya ka pa ng nanay mo. What would you have felt, right? Susubok ka, tadyak na naman. At least 3 times. And then, animal experts have studied this. Then the mom goes down, whispers something to the child. You know what the mom tells the child? Get up. The lions are coming. What won't kill you, right, will make you stronger. What's your mindset about this crisis? When I am weak, then I'm strong. Paul, the apostle, when I'm weak, then I'm strong. It's been tough for me, as has been for many of you. But lalo kong kumakapit sa Panginoon. And then I realized, my God, this force is stronger. That which is within me is stronger than that which is outside of me. One more advice from John Maxwell, the law of the inner circle. Those closest to you will determine your level of success. Those closest to you. Yung kinakausap natin, di ba? Yung binabarkada natin. Parang si Simba, medyo nalihis ng kaunti dahil kay Pumba Timon. Imbis na balikan niya yung lugar kung saan siya dapat nag-ahari, right? The Pride Lands. He adopted a philosophy of Hakuna Matata. Now, these guys were well-meaning, Pumba and Timon, right? No worries. But come on, you're the leader. No worries. There's famine, there's darkness, there's a crisis. ang mga pumba at timon ng buhay natin pinakikisamahan pero hindi sinusundan. We need nalas who will say, you gotta go back. It's your responsibility. We need mentors like Mufasa, right? And because of Nala and Mufasa, Simba went back to a place of darkness. That mindset that I'm going to add some light and I'm going to turn this around. No longer the victim mentality, but the victor's leader's mentality. Number 4, never forget that when you change in times of crisis, the most challenging thing is transition. Kasi ang mga leader, kadalasan alam ang simula, alam ang dulo. O, dito tayo ngayon, ha? This is the situation, ha? Nag-SWOT analysis na tayo, okay? Nag-force field analysis na tayo, okay? With a crisis management meeting. Okay, these are our goals. This is what we have to accomplish, ba? Boom! The transition is where life happens. But unfortunately, it's the most neglected part of change. By leaders. Not because they intend to, they just don't see the value. Mas importante yung patutunguhan, yung proseso nakakalimutan. Let me read something here. And I'm going to speed up because I know I have about 5 more minutes here. But I think this is a... Magbasa tayo ng isang article. Hindi article. It's a... Maybe you can call this a... It's a letter from Dane and Perry, transforming the fear of transformation, or turning the fear of transformation into the transformation of fear. Transition to. It's about saan ba tayo papunta? Kasi yung transition, doon ka minsan, one day excited ka, the next day natatakot ka. Di ba? One day you're behind the vision, the next day, oh my God, what's happening? Let me read. 2 to 3 minutes lang po to. Malapit na tayo. Sometimes I feel that my life is a sense of trapeze swings. I'm either hanging on to a trapeze bar swinging along, or a few moments in my life, I'm hurtling across space in between trapeze bars. Most of the time, I spend my time hanging on for dear life to my trapeze bar of the moment. It carries me along a certain steady rate of swing, and I have a feeling that I'm in control of my life. I know most of the right questions and even some of the answers. That was months ago. But every once in a while, as I am merrily, or even not so merrily, swinging along, I look out ahead of me into the distance, and what do I see? I see another trapeze bar swinging toward me. It's empty, and I know that in that place in me that knows that this new trapeze bar has my name on it. It is my next step, my growth, my aliveness coming to get me. In my heart of hearts, I know that for me to grow, I must release my grip on this present well-known bar and move to the new one. Each time it happens to me, I hope, no, I pray, that I won't have to let go of this old bar completely before I grab the new one. But in my knowing place, I know that I must totally release my grasp of my old bar and for some time, rather, some moment in time, I must hurtle across space before I can grab into the new bar. Each time I'm filled with terror. It doesn't matter that in all my previous hurdles across the void of unknowing, I've always made it. I am each time afraid that I will miss, that I will be crushed on unseen rocks in the bottomless chasm between bars. I do it anyway. Perhaps this is the essence of what mystics call the faith experience. No guarantees, no net, no insurance policy, but you do it anyway because somehow you to keep hanging on to that old bar is no longer on the list of alternatives. So for an eternity that can last a microsecond or 1,000 lifetimes, I soar across the dark void of the past is gone, the future is not yet there. We call it transition. I've come to believe that this transition is the only place that real change occurs. I mean real change, not the pseudo change that only lasts until the next time my old buttons get punched. I have noticed that in our culture, this transition zone is looked upon as a no thing, a no place between places. Sure, the old trapeze bar was real, and that new one coming toward me, I hope that's real too. But the void in between, is that just a scary, confusing, disorienting nowhere that must be gotten through as fast and as unconsciously as possible? No. And let's wrap this up now. What a wasted opportunity that would be. I have a sneaking suspicion that the transition zone is the only real thing, and the bars are illusions we dream up to avoid the void where real change, real growth occurs for us. Whether or not my hunch is true, it remains that the transition zones in our lives are incredibly rich places. They should be honored, even savored. Yes, with all the pain and fear and feelings of being out of control that can, but not necessarily accompany transitions, they are still the most alive, most growth-filled, passionate, expansive moments in our lives. Dane and Perry, turning the fear of transformation into the transformation of fear. I was running this course for a show on television. The producer and the entire media team, were about 20 plus, 3-day program and team building. The second night, this 3-day program, the head tells me, Anthony, thank you so much for what you're doing for my team. It's amazing. We've been so inspired. But can I share some personal stuff? I said, sure. My marriage is crumbling. My kids no longer listen to me. My health, oh my God, I don't know where it is right now. You know, as we exchanged, I said, you know what? Can I be honest with you? He said, yep, this is what your team has to hear. I said, no, please no. Trust me. Vulnerability. The next morning, we changed the program. She shared of her heart. Tears fell. People wept. And then they rose up to the occasion. Ma'am, ako nang bahala dun sa finance. I can handle this project. I'm the best in homeschooling. Ma'am, ako nang bahala sa dalawang anak ninyo. You know, amazing. Sometimes the people around us are just waiting for us to admit that we too are challenged by the change, that we too get scared, that we too feel helpless sometimes as leaders in a time of transition. And then the followers become leaders. And then we multiply ourselves. Transition starts with you. Transit, T. Take time, guys. R, relate within. A, accept resistance. And sometimes desistance that happens during change. N, navigate yourself. Your boss will help you. Some leaders around you will support you. But in the end, in a time of crisis, you got to get a hold of the situation yourself. Seek out influences, like what you've done today. Integrate all of life. You cannot do good in one area of your life and neglect another. Life is an indivisible whole, Mahatma Gandhi. And finally, transition yourself. Give yourself some slack. Number 5, growing up. Leadership development, that's what I call growing up as a leader, is both an art and science. 40 years ago or 38 years ago, I was shared this verse by one of my mentors, Psalm 78, verse 72. Ang dami kong problema noon sa buhay ko, feeling ko lang. I was 18, 19. And I shared of my heart, and he said one verse, Psalm 78, verse 72. And I share it with you not from a religious perspective, but from a leadership perspective. David shepherded the people of Israel with an upright heart and a skillful hand. David shepherded the people of Israel with an upright heart and a skillful hand. Every time you have a problem, it's either a heart issue or a hand issue. Kung di yan puso, motivasyon, intensyon, nasa kakayahan yan. Nasa skills yan. Nasa pamamaraan yan. See, it's a combination of heart and hand. By the way, this is my leader. I want to acknowledge her. This is Solana. I talked about you.
Okay.
Yes, about your schedules every day.
You-
You haven't shown me my schedule yet for the day, but you did last night. Okay, so prepare your schedule for the day. I'm going to fill up my slot. Problema kasi ngayon, di ba? Minsan sobrang science, wala nang puso, di ba? Ngayon sa issue na to. Iba naman, panay puso, wala namang science. Daming leader, panay kakayahan, wala namang puso. Iba naman, panay puso, wala namang kakayahan. You want to be an effective influencer? The mindset is, I need both. Number 6. Oh, as an introduction to number 6. Yeah, we're okay. Embracing change starts with me. And this is my last point here. I entered this room where 50 change consultants, different parts of the world. Years back, our speaker was D Hawk, CEO Emeritus of Visa International. This guy built this $1 trillion organization. At least how much money flows through it every day, right? And he was going to tell us the secret to surviving and thriving in the world today or for the future. The moment we entered, sabi niya, welcome, K-Yords! Nagtingin lang kami. 50 lang kami. Ano yun? What's that? And then he said, you are the K-Yords. First 30 minutes of his talk, chaos. He brainwashed us. The world's in chaos. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. So, ihanda nyo na. Sabi ni Usec Vizmonte, anticipate it, right? Just as we were so discouraged, it's going to get worse. Sabi niya, come on, it's a given. Parang math yan. Given lang yan. Right? Accept the given. And then, second part of his message, order. You provide order. In your own sphere of influence. Don't look for it from your boss. Right? Don't look for it from your company, from the institution, from the government. You, by the way you live your life. See, this is her schedule. I have to write my schedule. Okay. Here you go. Dad. 8. Thank you. See, wala na. I'm committed. Why am I here today? Because of my junior brads, right? No one in authority called me. Of course, I look up to them as my authorities too. That's 360 leadership. 360 leadership is not just leading people below you. It's leading people above you. It's leading people across you. It's leading people below you. 360 leadership. So amidst the chaos, the people who organize this are providing order. That is the K-Ord. It's a combination, right, of chaos, which is a given, and the order that we provide. So it starts with me. I once ran the largest association of students engaged in business, youth, not just students. In the world, we were about, at that time, in 64 countries, now in 120. I was based in Europe running that organization. I had 600 universities worldwide with 6,000 officers running the organization. I was the first, and so far, the only Filipino president of that international association. I wanted to quit, to be honest with you, at 1 point 6 months through my term because it was too tough. Iba't ibang lengguwahe, kultura, ang daming krisis, di ba? Iba't ibang amoy ng tao. Racial discrimination. It was tough. And my brother Kiko, older brother, Francis, Senator Francis, wrote me this note. Don't you quit, Anthony. You shine like a star because the world is getting darker. But you will notice the darker the night, the brighter the stars shine. Wow. P.S. When you shine, you don't shine for yourself. You shine so that those who are in darkness might see. I got that note. I set it aside. I stood up. I looked out the window as I'm looking out right now. And I said, bring on the darkness. Harap niyo sa akin ang kadiliman. It's a dark time, guys. It might get darker. Your only obligation is to shine in your area of influence. And you have to admit when occasionally you are part of the darkness. Don't just do cosmetic listening, hearing but not really, conversational listening, just to have something to say with somebody. Active listening, so you want to get the point, right? Do deep listening, and deep listening involves listening to yourself. Why is it that every time somebody questions my authority, galit na galit ako? Why is it that every time my wife, or my parents, whatever, follows me up on what I have to do, is I want to run away. I freeze. Why is it that every time I think of this person, gusto ko siyang bawian, di ba? Hindi ako matahimik. Minsan kasi, hindi sila ang problema, tayo. Self-awareness is a contact sport. You can bleed. But every time you join a contact sport, you don't join to bleed. You join to win. But the change starts with you. So, in summary, C, change the script. H, habit. Okay, make it a slave, not a master. A, as a man thinketh, so is he. As a man or a woman thinketh. And never forget the transition part. G, growing up, is both art and skill. And E, embracing change, starts with you and me. CHANGE. Lead, influence in a time of change. And yes, in a time of crisis. You guys are the stars. That's why I'm doing this. And by God's grace, I appeal to you. It is incumbent upon you to shine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pangilinan, for that amazing talk. Honestly, I'm at a loss for words. Thank you very much, Brad. And now that our speakers are finished with their talks, our speakers may proceed to answering your questions. Remember, you will be unmuted once your question has been recognized by our moderators. So to start the discussion, I'll ask the first question. To both speakers, I'd like to ask, well, now that home has invaded, now that work has invaded the home, how do we create boundaries to separate work and home?
Senior Brad will answer first. Or who would like to answer first? Sige, ako na muna. Actually, I came up with an acronym. I don't remember it right now. Homework. Boundaries. What's important, H, is that home, let me just say a few. No, I don't think I can recall all. Home is the foundation. Work is the inclusion. Okay, let's just be clear about that. Right? The foundation is home. Work is the inclusion. Huwag natin mabaliktarin. Diba? Huwag natin gawin yung bahay para bang naitabi ng pamilya. Diba? Naging trabaho na ang priority. And I think you have to have a conversation with your family on boundaries. Like, this is my area where I'm going to have my webinars. Occasionally here, kasi dito at least make mas magandang ilaw. Right? And then make sure that you balance not just two things. A lot of people are losing it, are getting so stressed because they try to balance work and family. Mali yun, ha? Mali yun. Kasi ang work professional, ang family relational, napaka-importante ng sarili, yung personal. Yun ang nawawala, yung personal. You cannot keep on giving to your professional life and your family life, relational life, without giving to your personal life. Kasi maubusan ka. So, even between meetings, let's say I have a chat with my wife or I'm having lunch with my family, and then I have to jump into a webinar or a meeting, I make sure that at one point I escape from everybody. You know, I take a walk, I run, because the personal is so important. I have to pour in before I can pour out. So, stakeholder management means I have to talk to every area. Magkasundo tayo, right? Magkasundo tayo. So you have to negotiate so that your professional, you know, does not take all of the relational, and the relational does not also prevent you from escaping occasionally to the personal. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pangilinan. Undersecretary, do you have an answer?
Maybe he is addressing a personal matter. Kaya... Let's go to the next question so we can move, and then I'm sure Usec can come in when he is able to re-engage para hindi sayang oras.
All right.
Oh, there you go.
Morning, Brad. Morning, everyone again. Sorry, I missed your talk, Anthony. I had to join another meeting. Very important.
That's fine. That's fine. You already practice what I preach.
Thank you for that.
So ang tanong, Senior Brad, it's paano yung boundaries daw sa bahay? That was the question. How's the boundaries at home daw? Because it's now work from home. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, it's something that we're starting to learn, and we're starting to adjust, and perhaps starting to enjoy. So all together, depending on how you look at it and how how's your lifestyle prior to COVID. But this is something new. You have more time with your family, at the same time attending to the needs of your profession and to yourself. Because for me, I still continue to run every morning, every 3 times a week. I continue to enjoy Zinuman with Upsilonians. So, nandun pa rin, Kailangan natin ng psychosocial life. So, hindi lang po trabaho ang kailangan sa ngayon. So, hindi pa rin perfecto, but we're still learning from it. We're adjusting from it. And maybe after 2 more months, hindi tayo nasusunog, but instead we're enjoying it. So I think that's the way to do it. My children, of course, they have their own rooms whenever at home, or not exactly physically room, but they're on their own. But we have our own time as well together. And of course, in the respective places, they're enjoying themselves, enjoying their company of their friends. Lahat naman ngayon ay enjoy online. So again, this is the balance. Hindi naman pwedeng puro laro for the kids or puro trabaho for us, But we really have to have some time for our family. But the difficult part is really how to separate from one another, because we're all at home. And it's really a challenge to be on your own at a specific time of day. But soon we'll have that. For me, I go out and run and walk and stay in one place, for example, in a open play area. So I can, so while exercising, I can also think of my plans, think of my day, and talk with someone up there. Okay? That's all. Yun po ang ginagawa ko sa aking pang-araw-araw na buhay ngayon.
Thank you very much, Undersecretary. I understand that someone else has a question. Mr. Gian Ashado.
Yep. Hello. Good morning, Senior Brads. I'm Gian from Upsilon Sigma Phi. Now I have a question for both of you, but especially for Usec boy. Brad, how do you manage expectations? As a leader, how do you manage expectations, especially with the time right now? Not only your subordinates in DTI, but also the people you serve, no? So personally, how do you manage expectations? Also, how do you help others, manage manage it, Yep. Thank you, Senior Brads.
Kailangan alam natin yung mandato natin sa trabaho. Alam natin yung dapat sa sarili natin in an organization. We know what we're supposed to do. We know what we're supposed to deliver to the public. We know our outcomes, our outputs. And with that will guide us on how to deliver this and how to respond to the public's requirements. And the expectation, of course, is difficult to manage, because individually they have their respective expectations. But us from the DTI, we cannot predict that. But we have to do our mandate. Yun po yung guide ng mga tagover people. The mandate, we have to perform. And number 2, we have to do this effectively and efficiently and using the resources of government in a correct manner. So yan ang expectation ng publiko sa bawat gobyerno. So we have to stick with that.
Yep. Thank you, Senior Brad. Also, yes, Senior Brad Anthony.
I'll echo that. It starts with who you are, right? Being determines doing and eventually having. Ang problema ng mundo, minsan binabaliktad eh. Inuuna yung having. This is what I want to have, so this is what I'll do. Kahit na kung minsan hindi ikaw yon, kahit na minsan hindi mo mandato yon, di ba? Dahil minsan meron kang savior's mentality eh. Maraming ganun. That's actually a psychological challenge, no? Yung feeling mo na ikaw ang gift, no, of God to the whole world. Medyo wag naman, di ba? Your world, not the whole world. So, I'll just echo that. First, you gotta know who you are. First, you gotta be. A business, for example, starts sa SEC registration, di ba? Nature of business. You gotta stick to that. At yan ang dapat mong i-deliver. And you have to communicate and remind people of what you are accountable for. Kasi kung minsan sila mismo, mali na nagiging expectations nila eh. Right? Lalo na kung magaling ka, lalo na kung Usec Vizmonte ka, halimbawa, di ba? O nangyayari dyan, dumadami yung expectation ng mga tao. Di ba? Parang suddenly they want you to solve all their problems. Eh hindi mo naman boundary yun eh. Lampas na yun sa'yo eh. Di ba? Hanggang dito ka lang. So, you can't please everybody. Kaya ako minsan pag nagigising ako sa umaga, since I can't please everybody, minsan natanong ko sa sarili ko, so today, whom shall I displease? Di ba? Yun ang magandang tanong, di ba? So again, I just want to re-echo that. You gotta start with being, ikaw yan, doing, yan ang gawin mo, di ba? And then eventually you see the results. You know, having is the final thing.
Yep. Thank you very much, Brad.
Our next question is from Justice Ocampo.
Good morning, Mr. Pangilinan and Usec. I'm Justice Ocampo from Upsilon Sigma Phi, and my question is, what are the things that you learned and experienced during your college years that helped you to be a leader today?
Ulit? Pwedeng ulit? Kasi medyo na...
What are the things you learned and experienced during your college years that helped you to be a leader today?
Upsilon. No, I learned to be a leader because of Upsilon. I'm not a academic-wise, hindi naman ako forgettable. I graduated from UP Los Baños, but hindi po tayo kasama ron sa excellent model students. Ano po tayo, smart, ano? But maybe because that smartness came from or because of my training in the Upsilon. So at that time, medyo mataas yung expectation sa atin dyan para sa on the aspect of resourcefulness. You know, tinitrain tayo to be resourceful, to produce something out of nothing, to be creative. And hindi po natututunan yan sa klase. At sa ating organization, we learn that. And somehow, yun ang foundation natin ng leadership. Maybe for me, personally, malaking bagay sa akin yung training na yun. To be part of the Upsilon Sigma Phi. That's where my foundation of leadership came from. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. What did I learn from college that has helped me till this day? If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. Rudyard Kipling. How has that evolved through the years? If you can fill the unforgiving minute by God's grace, yun dinagdag ko. Diba? Kasi hindi mo kaya nang wala ang Panginoon eh. Yun ang dinagdag ko. If you can fill the unforgiving minute by God's grace with 60 seconds worth of distance run. And again, para tayong parallel courses Senior Brad, Because ako din, magna 9 years ako Magna, di ba? I had to quit UP for 4 semesters. Because I had to run Isaac International abroad. And when I came back, sabi sa akin ng Chancellor, isa pang leave, tanggal ka na rito sa UP, Anthony. I mean, which means most of what I learned was not in class. It was the extracurriculars. I don't know who said that. Do not let your academics ruin your education. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, okay? I took my master's in business. I just finished my last master's last week on last year and change. I'm now a student back in UP taking my PhD in communications. Come on, I'm all for academics, but the ones that really stayed on with me, yung sinasabi ni Usec, yun, yung mga sa kalye, di ba? Yung mga smart ways of doing things, street smart, and that is brought about by experience, good, bad, and ugly experiences.
That's all, our speakers. Thank you.
I hope we did you justice.
I apologize. Due to time constraints, that was the last question that we could entertain. And as a token of our appreciation, we present these certificates to Mr. Anthony Pangilinan and Undersecretary Ireneo Vizmonte. So it's not shown on screen, so I'll just read. The certificate reads, the certificate of appreciation is presented to Anthony N. Pangilinan, MBA, Chairman and Chief Disturber of BusinessWorks Incorporated, and Undersecretary Ireneo Boy Vizmonte, DTI Undersecretary, Management Services Group and Chief of Staff, for serving as resource speakers at the webinar entitled, What Does Good Leadership Look Like in a Crisis? On Good Public Leadership in the Time of COVID-19 in the Philippines, held on August 15, 2020. Signed by John Caleb B. Rojas, Activity Co-Head, Denzel M. Palaganas, Activity Co-Head, and Dominic V. Mariano, the illustrious fellow of the Upsilon Sigma Phi.
Maraming salamat, Brads.
Thank you also. Maraming salamat. Thank you, Usec. Thank you, Senior. I learned a lot from you this morning. Maraming salamat.
Yeah, and now I would like to ask everyone to turn on video feedback for a quick photo op.
Wow, meron pa palang ganyan, ha?
Merong feedback. May picture yan. So, pagandahan ng profile picture yan. By the way, if you have any questions after this, send me a DM on my Instagram account, right? Anthony Pangilinan, or my Facebook page. Or you can email me at chiefdisturber@yahoo.com.
I like that. Position yan, ha?
Oh, Usec, ano yan? Disturbances lead to positive change. Ang nagpapadisturbo, nagbabago.
Yeah. Okay, so ilang tama na? More frames.
I'll count. Sorry. Counting.
Oh, you have to count.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
One more.
Hello, Benny. Si Benny, oh.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. God bless you. Have a great day, guys. Shine.
God bless everyone and stay safe.